Welcome all. Welcome again to another exciting episode of Sneaks, Rhymes, and Life. I'm your host, Lionel McDonald. We have a special guest today, hails from Montreal. Samuel, otherwise affectionately known as Sneaker Sam. Sam, how are you?
I'm doing very well. Nice to be here finally.
Yeah, awesome. I know we've been talking about it for a while, so it's finally good to get you on. I know you're one of the most avid collectors in the city of Montreal, and you've kind of been building your collection after a long period of time. So maybe you can kind of share with us, how did you get involved in sneakers? What's kind of on your mind when it comes to the sneaker game?
Well, I appreciate the praise. I've been collecting sneakers for a little longer than some, but certainly not as long or as extensive as others. As far as Montreal goes, I definitely tip my hat to some other guys. But as far as me starting, I've kind of always had a colorful style, and my grandmother has always worn flashy, out there clothing and colors, and I kind of have liked to emulate that. And early on, I kind of found sneakers was a nice reflection of that. You'd bring it with you, you'd pull it out at a different time, you'd kind of hide something away and then sneak it out later. And it was always a little more to me than a piece of clothing or an accessory to go along with. I probably have been collecting for going on like 15 to 20 years or something like that, as far as like I actively thought about buying a pair of shoes and owning and keeping on to that pair of shoes.
Hmm. All right, that's pretty impressive. There's not many in today's environment that would say that they have been collecting sneakers for 15 or 20 years. I would say you're in the OG category of sneakerheads and not some of these new jack hypebeasts. But hey, everyone's got a place in the game, whether you're a reseller or you do something else that's involved in it. All are welcome because that's what the sneaker culture is all about. Really interesting to see how your grandmother is kind of impacted, you kind of getting involved in, your taste and your flavors. So I would kind of ask, people love to hear what's in someone's collection. So what would be some of the sneakers that are in your collection? How diverse is it? I can see a few Nike boxes. I see some silver Jordan boxes back there, some black ones definitely. So, what is the rainbow of sneakers look like in your collection?
So as far as that goes, it's a little all over the place. I walk a lot. I work at Foot Locker, so those kind of things are big into what I wear. And as far as my personality, I'm relatively maybe consistent, being a little light of a word. I'm dedicated to a shoe or two. When I like something, I like it a lot. I try and buy it in a whole bunch of colors, and that kind of adds to the flair of things. So as far as my origin stories go, it would probably be like an Air Force One, and in particular mids. I don't know why back in the day, pants being a little bigger, a little baggier, you kind of still wanted to show off your cool pair of shoes. So the mids really satisfied that. They were harder to get. They came in a couple nice colors, and when you really found a good pair, you felt good about that. Transitioning into working at Foot Locker, I started collecting, or actually just before that, I had started collecting SBs, which
Okay.
happened to be really good timing on my part. I was getting into SBs as SBs were dying down / were not talked about, not worn. I managed to pick up a couple of really nice pairs, and unfortunately in the transition, I managed to sell a couple of really nice pairs at what would be astronomically low market value by today's standards. And then transitioning into Foot Locker, Jordan 1 was basically the closest thing to an SB high that I could wear on a daily basis. And I actually got very much into a pair of Asics, the Gel 3s. So I'd say those are the main. Obviously, you get a little here, a little there. You collect for so long, you just kind of dabble a little all over the place. But I'd say those are the main pillars of my sneaker collection.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I saw it. I definitely saw an Ultra Boost box in there. And yeah, you mentioned Air Force. It's funny you say that's kind of what started me, many, many years ago was I was into a lot of the, call it turf trainers or like 90s basketball shoes. But one of the things probably that really got me buying multiple colors of the same shoe was like the jewel swoosh, or then it went to a leather swoosh Air Force One mid. It was exactly the same thing. I think I started with
You
a goldenrod pair, white and goldenrod, and then it was orange, and then apple green, and it took off from there. So yeah, I can definitely feel you. It's we're uh, we're two peas in a pod when kind of the generation that kind of inspired what kind of got us going. So yeah, I think you mentioned Jordan 1. Obviously, that's a big one right now. Asics has kind of made a renaissance as of the last couple of years, and obviously, we saw a little bit in the pandemic, and now we're seeing a full array of it this year. The dunk, whether it's the second year of the dunk, because there was a sprinkle of it last year, you're seeing the dunk out there in full force, and that's kind of what the market is demanding. What would be some of the latest pickups that you have in recent times?
the literal most recent pickup would be Racer Blue Jordan 3s. Notable pickups earlier to that would be a pair of Street Hawkers, the SVs as well. And ideally, fingers crossed, praying to the raffle gods that I can secure a pair of Jordan 1 Pollins at the end of the next week.
Hmm. That's a big one. The funny one
Yeah.
you didn't mention on my end was the one that everyone's been talking about in at least in this city is which is the retail store that's got the Travis Scott Fragment One, and no one has it. It's a tier zero shoe. So if you look at StockX today, it's like I think I saw it for 3,200. It's like wild.
It's
So
funny you mention that because I have truly no interest in Travis Scott. I'm not a big fan of his music. I am a little saddened and a little value upped by the fact that he wears SBs, but at the end of the day, his inspiration really doesn't do it for me.
mhm.
All the power to those who do, but wasn't interested in the shoe, got a lot of requests for the shoe. But last week would have been the time to buy it. I think I found with StockX for a really hype release, quite about a week before everybody realizes how bad they want it and how few they're really at. So
Yep. You kind of get those the trendsetters, and then if you get the early adopters elevate the price, and then those that are the followers, it's too late. It's too late.
yeah.
You can't get your hands on it. It's all done. So all right. So again, we mentioned in the early going, you're from Montreal, so maybe you can kind of share what's the sneaker vibe in Montreal. What is it looking like these days? Toronto, it's obviously heavily on dunks and Jordan ones, and then obviously a sprinkle of Asics and New Balance has definitely made a stride forward with 990s and 574s. But is it the same in Montreal? Is it something different? Maybe you could share.
So recently I haven't been out and about as much. And when I am, I'm on a bike, not truly paying attention to the sneakers because it'll be a danger to my life. But as far as work goes, I see a lot of people walking through the malls. Everyone and their mom has a pair of Air Forces. Lots of Jordan 1s or requests and searching for Jordan 1s. Um, and a little bit of variety you see every now and then. Obviously, the sneakerheads are wearing something limited, something tier, but I would say really it's the big guys, it's the Adidas, it's the Jordan, it's the Nike that you see in reality. And
Hmm.
it's relatively on trend. There's not so much outliers. And that would probably be true until you get 3, 4 months down the year when we start to see snow, when we start to see slush, we start to see ice. And either the real crazies or the real sneakerheads truly come out.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Okay. So we with our sneakerheads, we love to play a segment called Copper Pass. So I'll throw it a couple shoes. You tell me whether you are going to cop or you're going to pass. You already mentioned one of them that was on the list, so that would have been the Jordan 1 Pollen. So I'm going to say that is, I'll answer for you. That is a thumbs up cop
Yep.
for those watching on YouTube. So what about the Lightning 4, cop or pass?
The Lightning 4 will be a definite attempt. Try my hands on at least one pair. That's
Yeah,
the type of pair that if you can grab a second, you're going to regret it later if you don't. So,
yeah.
thumbs up, cop.
All right. We get to the end of the year, and I think that the big holiday release is the Cool Gray 11. Was that a cop or pass for you?
That's going to be a pass. And add a little tidbit that based on my math, the Cool Gray 9s came out in 2002. The Cool Gray 9s came out in 2012. The Cool Gray 11s came out in 2011. So I'm hoping next year a pair of Cool Gray 9s in the holiday season for me.
Yeah, I got a good friend of mine. He stood up in my wedding, and when I was in his wedding, that was the shoe we wore at the wedding. Cool Gray 9s. We
Mm,
wore a gray suit, and it's like I'm normally not for wearing sneakers in a wedding. That was a good one.
I
So
bet.
because we had the vest that was one gray, and then the suit was the other gray. So
Mm,
yep, feel you on the Cool Gray 9. It's heavily underrated. I think the 9 and the 2 are maybe the most underrated, probably front half of the Jordan collection. So good
easy.
one. You say you're a big Jordan 1 guy, but I know that we got the Jordan 1 Bordeaux, which was a very unique color. Is that a copper pass for you?
That would be a cop. Caveat being, depending on the leather. If the leather is all ruffled and whatnot, we'll
Yeah.
see. But a smooth leather, a tumbled leather, patent leather, bring it on. Let's try a new colorway.
Okay. So we'll stop there for a second. You mentioned quality. So a couple different questions I have. I'll ask them one at a time. So when you talk about quality, um, what do you look for? And I know certain people feel a certain way about what the quality looks like nowadays. But what do we'll call you an OG because you've been in that at it for 20 years. What do you look for when you're looking for quality? What does that look like?
So, number one, I happen to be a lot less specific than a lot of people. A glue stain, a misstitch, a here and a there, it happens. They're humans. It's quality control. You get a little defect. There's never such thing as a perfect pair. But it's got to feel soft. It's got to have a general, complete look to it. One of the things that really bothers me on quality control is when you have clearly two different pieces of leather from entirely different swatches, and one will appear very tumbled and one will not, or they'll have a slightly different coloration. And that's really what I'd look for as far as quality goes, is the uniformness of the pairs.
Hmm, okay. So then I would take you down this rabbit hole. Think of a couple shoes that really had good quality and a couple that were just terrible.
I'm going to go for some sleepers as far as like the Jordan ones in recent memory. Sleepers being all of the metallics early on. So the metallic blue navies and the metallic reds. Amazing quality of a shoe. Jordan 1 Sail and Jordan 1 Black from the Essentials pack.
Hmm.
Very, very underrated, great quality shoe. I'll throw it to the hype beast that my shattered backboard 1.0s are one of the most comfortable pairs of shoes that I own in my collection.
I would co-sign that one.
And then lower quality stuff I was disappointed with. University blues, really not special. The mochas, the leather was fine, really nothing for me.
Yeah.
And I got a pair of the Defiant Coutures, which are basically a plastic shoe. And if you look at it sideways, the thing starts to crease. So I haven't taken those out of the box yet.
Hmm. Okay. Well, you bought it though, right?
I actually won it on a raffle. Shout out to NetMag.
Okay. All right. All right. So, yeah, I'm sure when some of our beloved listeners listened that you almost threw the mocha's in the garbage, and I'm saying that, not you, but you're not in love with the quality. But yeah, some people's like, what? How could he talk about the mochas like that? That's blasphemy. So, anyways, we'll keep it moving. So, yeah, I think the world of sneakers over the last, and we'll use your time frame, call it 15, 20 years is dramatically changed. You know, 15, 20 years, like there was literally zero online presence. Everyone waited for an East Bay catalog to come in the mail if you were shopping out of the US. And now we're talking about bots and trying to win like online raffles and going through Instagram to try and find shoes, you know. So, what do you think from your perspective? Where's do you think sneakers is like the business is going? And then how does it get better for the consumer? What is your thoughts?
Number one, everyone hates on the resellers. Everyone loves on the resellers. At the end of the day, it's all about the legwork. You mentioned back in the day, you waited for an East Bay catalog and you could order, but most people didn't have disposable income for shoes at that time. So you'd hustle, you'd grind, you'd save the extra dollar, you'd mow the lawns, and you get those shoes. Or you had to know the guy who worked at Foot Locker, and he's like, hey, by the way, we think this is coming in. Give us a call the day or two before, and you'd have to work to get it. Nowadays, the work happens to be a little different, and you happen to be fighting against a lot more people, but you got to know how to get the internet releases. You got to know which raffles to enter, or you just got to work a little extra harder and pay that extra buck. Because StockX is easy. It really is.
Yep, you can literally get whatever you want if you're willing to pay. That's
And
the way the game is being played. So, you talk about
Mhm.
some of the early days. Could you tell us a story of how you've gone on a sneaker hunt? Maybe one that it doesn't need to be the most extravagant story, but sometime you really kind of went on a quest to find a certain shoe, and tell the listeners how it went.
And I have a particular one in mind. So about 3, 4 years ago, I was with my girlfriend visiting her family in Calgary. And I've never been to Calgary. I know nothing about Calgary. And I happened to be scrolling through one of the Facebook groups, and somebody is selling a pair of purple lobsters. And this is just before the price spike. I love the color purple. I love the lobster series, and I love the SBs. And I sent them a message, and I was like, how much are you asking? Blah, blah, blah. Turns out he's in Calgary. He gives me an address. I said, for the price, you know what? I'm going to go and I'm going to drive. I look at my girlfriend and she says, that's in a weird place in town. And I said, whatever. Like, how bad could it really be? She'll come with me. We have the car. I have a cell phone. I'm not worried. I have enough confidence. The guy seemed normal typing. We go into this area, and it's basically an industrial area. And there's these long strips of individual office style buildings, very flat, very wide, very uninhabited by random passerby. So my girlfriend is not the most confident, and I am a little more confident. And she goes, I don't know if we should be here. Like, did you message the guy? Has he gotten back to you? I had sent a message like, hey, we're 5 minutes away. I get no answer. So we pull up to where the map tells us we're supposed to go. And we're about 3/4 of the way down one of these driveway strips in between the building mall. And there's no signs anywhere. And there's no panel on the door. And it just says the number at the top, and the shades are drawn. And my girlfriend goes, you can't go in there. And I said, well, like, what's going to happen? She goes, at least leave me the money. I said, no, it's fine. Like, I go, do you want me to leave you my phone? And she says, absolutely not. If anything goes wrong, you have to call me. Plus, you have to reach the guy. I go, okay, fine. I walk in the door, and it's a relatively sparse office. There is a desk and a chair, and there's nobody there. And I look to the right, and there's another office. The lights are off. There's nobody in there. And I look to the left, and there's a closed door. So I text the guy, like, I'm not about to walk into this closed back door in somebody's office of somebody I don't know in somewhere that I don't know. But I'm still not nervous at this point. I text them. I say, hey, I think I'm here. I'm in the right place. I walk back and forth. I see on the corner there's a pair of black cement threes and a Supreme knapsack. And I was like, you know what? I'm probably in the right place. I get a message from him saying, I'm coming out. And the door that was locked and closed opens up. And in the back, there's this industrial kitchen. And this guy is literally chopping heads of chickens
Oh my
one by one by
gosh.
one. And this young kid comes out and he's wearing like a mask on him because he's in the factory. And he goes, excuse me. And he takes off his gloves and he takes off an apron and he leaves it there. And he goes to another plate, like the closed office, and he grabs the pair of shoes. I'm like, he's just a normal kid. And I walk back out and I tell my girlfriend, she's like, you're alive. Oh my God, you have the shoes. They're real. I was like, yeah, I opened them. I smelled them. I touched them. They're real. And she goes, what was it like in there? And I go, do you really want to know? And then I told her the whole story. But it was an interesting affair. Nothing bad happened, but I saw some shit.
Yep. This guy's wailing on chicken heads, and wow, that's one I've never heard before. So pretty awesome. Thanks for sharing. So obviously seeing you on Instagram, and at the end, I would love you to share what your Instagram handle is so people can find you and check out what you post and what you like and all of those types of things. But um, is there anyone on Instagram that kind of influence you, or what are some of the handles that you follow on the regular basis? Is there any of them that are unique, other than call it the basics, and I call it the basics, whether you follow Kicks on Fire or Sneaker News or Sneaker Bar Detroit, or those ones. And then if you're Canadian, you probably even follow Soul Savvy, which is a pretty cool one now. If you're not part of that club, that is a cool one if you're looking for ways and notifications on how to buy stuff. So tell me, how do you make it work? What do you look at? Because Instagram seems to be the place to go these days.
For sure. As far as inspirations, it's tough. You can't try and stack up against Instagram. You'll literally always lose. You'll literally always be disappointed. So at the end of the day, I kind of buy what I like. But as far as finding out what's coming out, seeing how things are rocked, like I like Esco 8, Sean Go, out of
Yep.
Toronto.
He's been a guest.
I like Mr. Unloved Ones, out of North Carolina, I believe. One of the Carolinas.
Yep.
I like SB Freak out of Halifax, Canada represent, one of the biggest SB collectors out there. And then every now and then you follow a couple sample guys, the Soul Supremes, the MC1 sneakers, just to see the perfect pair, just to kind of see what the top of the ceiling looks like.
Right. Okay. Those are some good ones. I'm sure some of the either you're watching on YouTube or you'll hear this on Apple or Spotify or any of the other pieces. I'm sure that we got people now scrolling when they hear this episode to kind of find some of these pieces. So thanks again.
Let's get the editor to throw up a card here and there and there, and follow sneaker.sam, spelled pretty easily.
Yep. All right.
Orange hoodie in the display picture, and if you click on it, you will see a lot of shoes. So
okay, all right, sounds good. So I think just in closing, obviously we are just past the halfway point of 2021, and I know obviously we're still kind of in the pandemic, although restrictions across Canada, Toronto where I live, Montreal where you live, they're kind of being eased, and we don't know what the fall is. They're talking about variants, but and I know there's still, you mentioned again the pollen Jordan 1 that's coming. What are some of the other ones that you have your eye on to kind of close the back half of the year as we start going downhill to get to 2022?
Those are the two big ones. Right now, I have a little bit of a backlog of stuff that I kind of wanted to get from having missed out. I'm sitting in a beautiful new condo with a giant sneaker room. I've been putting a little money towards that for the last little while. So as far as finances go, I'm not crazy looking forward to anything except for those 2 yellow shoes I had mentioned, and mentally prepared to pay resale at this point. So
Eh,
that's probably where the next little bit is going to go to. And who knows? I might surprise myself and find something.
Yeah.
Pop up on shelves or get returned to the store and just say, "This is my next cup."
Gotcha. All right. Again, Sam, thanks so much for taking the time. I know this is being recorded on a Friday, so that's not easy for everyone, but enjoy the weekend. I think this episode will be out very soon, but appreciate you sharing your passion, representing Montreal very well, and again, just your interest in sneakers, I think is highly valued. So again, thanks so much for sharing.
Thank you, Lionel. It was an absolute pleasure, and looking forward to watching the video.
Okay, awesome. Thanks again, Sam, and we'll talk soon.
Bye.